ladies are in Newington. We spoke to the St. Thomas girls basketball team. Now we're here with the Dover Little Green cheerleading team. They are on their way to Orlando, Florida, competing nationals, which is pretty awesome. Or actually, nationals, it's bigger than nationals. I'll start with you, Coach Kelsey Lakeman, who's here. Coach, you guys are competing with teams from around the world, right?
Yes.
So it's bigger than just nationals.
Well,
it's called nationals, but really it's
yeah.
called globals.
Right, yeah.
Let's give it a bigger feel. So you got to beat that team from Zimbabwe. Coach Kelsey Lake is here. Coach, thanks for being here. And you've been with the team 7 years?
I've been coaching for 7 years.
And you actually started junior coaching when you were in high school.
Right, yeah.
So how does that work? Your coaches come up to you? Or?
Yeah, a couple of coaches asked me to help their team, and I coached my little sister.
Okay.
When she was little.
That's awesome. All right. Well, Josh said you didn't want to go first, so we'll start with Sophie Rancourt. Sophie Rancourt is here. Sophie, thanks for being on the show tonight.
Hi, thank you for having me.
And you're an 8th grader?
Yeah.
All right. How long have you been cheerleading for?
I've been cheerleading for 5 seasons.
5 seasons, so since the 3rd grade? Well, I'm doing the quick math in my head here. So, right around that time?
Yeah.
And that's awesome. And Casey Clipgrove is with us. Casey, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And how long have you been doing cheerleading?
8 years.
8 years. Good grief. All right, and Josh Fredericks is with us. Josh, thanks for being on the program.
Thank you for having me.
And Josh, how long have you been on the show?
I have been doing cheerleading for...
Wait a minute, you've been on the show for 5 seconds. How long have you been doing cheerleading?
I've been doing cheerleading for 8 years.
8 years, all right. And, well, I will start, I'll ask you another question, Josh. What got you into cheerleading? How did you decide that this is something you wanted to do?
Well, my friend was doing cheerleading and I thought it was really interesting, so I was like, hey, I'm going to do it. So I was like, Mom, you should sign me up. So I started and it just clicked. So I just wanted to do it. So I've been doing it since.
So you just liked it right off the bat?
Yes.
No hesitation? All right, and now you're the coach of what's called a flyer?
Yes.
That sounds incredibly horrifyingly scary.
No, it's really not.
It's not? Okay, well, can you describe what a flyer does?
Okay, so the flyer is when positions lift you up and you do positions or things like that. It's pretty fun.
Pretty fun?
Yeah.
It sounds like a nightmare to me, Josh. I'm just kidding. No, that's great. And Casey Clitner, you are one of the bases, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, now can you describe me what one of the bases does?
Well, you gotta be strong because you're lifting, well, not heavy, but
Right.
you're lifting people in the air.
Right.
So we're the ones that are like the stable. You have to be, you have to be stable.
Right.
And
And you're basically, if you picture a pyramid, you're the base. And the base kind of describes what you do. So now, you don't look a whole lot bigger than Josh does. So you're the ones holding Josh up?
yes.
Now, who do you think's more scared? I would be more scared of the base because if you're a flyer, not much you can do. But if you're a base, you're like, I got this guy. Do you get scared?
Yeah, I think being a flyer would be really scary because you have to be so tight and you have to focus on the positions that you're pulling. But being a base, like if you shake just a little bit, it could bring the stunt down. So you really have to focus on what you're doing and just really make sure you're stable and doing the best you possibly can.
You guys have more concentration as 8th graders than I do as a 34-year-old guy. Let me just tell you that right now. But that's awesome. So what got you into cheerleading?
Well, I was doing dance when I was little, and there was cheerleaders that were there, and one of the moms said, hey, why don't you come try this? I think you'd be really good at it. And just like Josh said, I just tried it, and I loved it.
That's right, so that was about 1st grade or so?
Yeah.
And what sort of dancing were you doing for, like tap, ballet, jazz, stuff
Yeah,
like that?
tap and ballet.
That's awesome. And so Sophie, who's also an 8th, all 3 of you guys are 8th graders, not coaches. That would be weird if you were in college but still in 8th grade. Sophie, what got you into cheerleading?
Well, I always saw different cheerleading shows. I always watched the Nationals on the ESPN channel, and I always thought that would be so fun to do that someday. So I decided to try it out and I love it. And now we're getting the chance to go.
So you just on your own, you watched and you were, this is awesome, I gotta give this a shot.
Yeah.
And you guys are headed to Orlando and trying to go for a national championship. That's pretty exciting. That's awesome. But, so let me ask you, what sort of things do you guys do in the routines you do? Do you do, I mean, for someone that's not familiar with cheerleading, there's a whole lot of stuff that goes on. Now, is everybody at some point doing like big crazy flips, like handspring, stuff like that?
Yeah, the routines are very difficult. There's a lot of stunting, so lifting people up in the air, and then there's always tumbling, so people doing backflips and back handsprings and stuff like that. And then there's dancing involved in it too, so you have to be able to have good memory of that stuff, and then we do the cheer.
Right. And then now, okay, so Sophie, Casey, how many hours a day do you guys practice this?
We practice twice or 2 or 3 times a week, for 2 hours or 2.5 hours, and yeah.
So what sort of things do you have to do to keep yourself in shape? You have to stretch, every day regardless of whether you're practicing. You have to. What sort of things do you do to keep yourself in game shape, so to speak?
Push-ups, sit-ups at home. Like I have my whole little workout schedule that I do at 9 o'clock, and I haven't started it yet, even though I set it up like last week. That's
all right.
okay.
Good time. It's a little, 10 past 7. All right, and Josh, so you probably have to be maybe more flexible in the bases since you're only doing all this crazy flippity flu dots up in the air. Now, do they throw you over there, or you just do it like poses when they hold you up?
Well, I do both. I do basket tosses, and that's really throwing in the air. And then I do things like libs, or when like it's done to nuts, and I do heel stretches, bows, scorpions, etc.
What is a scorpion?
A scorpion is when I take my leg and I put it in the air.
Oh my God! It already hurts.
Yeah.
Continue. I'm sorry.
And then a bow is when I stick my leg in the air and I put it in my opposite hand and hold it behind my head. And then, yeah, that's basically what those things are.
Believe it or not, I was a professional wrestler one time. We used to have to stretch a lot, but not like that. We're gonna have to go home and I don't know. I'm just gonna call my doctor. She's here. Good for you guys. All right, we're gonna take a time out. When we come back, we'll continue talking with Sophie Rancourt, Casey Plittner, Josh Fredericks, and Coach Kelsey Leahy, and listening to the All-Star High School Sports